Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast. I'm your host, Blueberry. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about the truth of having a relationship in high school, so let's jump right in. I want to say that I've never been in a full-on relationship myself. I am single as ever, and I really don't need a love life since I want to focus on high school. Still, but I've noticed so many things in relationships in high school that I'm just full on speechless, so let's jump right in. The truth. There's something in relationships that I will never understand. And you may be asking what it is. Well, let me explain. When people ask me what I think of relationship in high school, my answer would be don't date until you're able to clean yourself up. Which just means until you can start taking care of yourself. This is just a lot of maturity and learning over time in high school. I think that until you're able to do that big task, then the best age to start dating would be 17 or 18, which is what I would recommend doing. When you're 18, which is your senior year, my advice would be to date someone your age or 1 year younger. I always see people dating in the first year of freshman, which always grosses me out. To a point which I want to just throw up. 99% of the time, they always break up after 1 month, or not even 1 month. Or even 10th and 12th graders dating. Sure, the age gap is not far, but dating in high school is just so weird. If you're talking about college, that's different. You're almost a full-grown adult, so you're kind of already learning the maturity in high school already. So that's really up to your own body and your own just what you're going through, like if you're going through puberty or not, I don't know. Relationships. I think when I'm talking about this topic, I want to say that relationships in high school is not always usually going to work out. This being said, when you get cheated on or broken up with who you thought was the love of your life, you want to try just taking revenge, which always leads to high school relationship fights somewhere around the school building / classroom or big rumors starting upon with your name. And this just always leads you to like thinking like, oh, I know who it is, because you think that it's the person who you broke up with, but maybe it's not. So I think that it's just really crazy. Now, when it comes to relationships, there's always going to be a dark side when going to a relationship. That being said, usually I wouldn't recommend going into a relationship at such a young age. This causes a lot of like not being able to focus on school. I think that people dating in freshman year is crazy. And also like freshmen people dating upper grades. Like I have like my cousin and me, we have seen freshmen dating seniors. It kind of scares me that this is what I gotta see every day. I mean, there are people in my classroom who are literally dating 9-year-olds because they look cute and they're 15 themselves. Also, keep in mind that relationships are weird at first for everyone, but you need to remember that it's 2023. So it's kind of really normal for you to go through a relationship or someone confessing, oh, I love you, or I have feelings for you. But also in 2023, we have stages. And this is another thing I'm going to talk about. When we're talking about stages, I'm talking about like another thing. When I'm talking about stages, I'm talking about like, I'm not dragging TikTok as an app again. But there's going to be people who go through stages of like me and my boyfriend or girlfriend is going through the fighting stage right now. Hopefully can make it, because that's usually how relationships always broke up, because of those stages. So that being said, relationships usually don't last this long. If I could, I wish that I could just make a podcast about my middle school podcast, because there's just so many stuff that goes on. But one of the things that I would like to just tell you guys is just all the relationships that happened in my middle school, because I know that it would be crazy and there's just going to be so much tea that will be spilling left and right, but it's not the point of this episode. So moving on, and a little disclaimer again, I'm not giving tips. This is just what I've seen and learned myself in high school and middle school. You know what I've noticed that still kind of grosses me out? That people have pictures of the love of their life as a wallpaper or as a widget. Like, I get that y'all want to show off your relationships, or your love, but that's just too much. Also, I'm gonna say that it's hard to maintain being in relationships in high school, as we all know that you're gonna be so busy in school. But outside of school, that's different. That's up to you if you're busy or not, and if your partner is up for that difficult challenge where you guys can't hang out with each other. If one of you guys are maybe busy, or maybe busy in high school. Now, one of the big topics that's also comes around after the dark side is leave your relationships offline and not online. This is kind of one of those things that I have seen so much of through my Instagram just feeds or TikToks or Instagram stories, not naming who. But I've seen relationships on my Instagram stories left and right. And there's something about that concerns me a lot, which I want to talk about right now. But when it comes to relationships, putting things online, it's almost like the same thing with having relationships with celebrities. If you were to, like, for example, have a relationship with Kim Kardashian and, I don't know, Tom Holland, I don't know, something like that, and then you share it online, there's going to be fan bases who's going to try breaking that up because they don't work well together. And those fans will always be so negative towards those relationships, or you lose all your fan base, you know. That's kind of the same thing as what I'm saying now. Even though the people who are listening to my podcast may not be popular, maybe have over 1,000 followers, that doesn't compare to over 1 million followers with a lot of popularity. I just wouldn't recommend sharing your relationship. And that's something that I have learned just going through people's stories, is that just don't share your relationship online, because there's going to be people who probably want to slide into their DMs. I don't know. So I usually never share anything crazy. Sure, matching quotes, matching profiles, those are like fine. Those are like regular stuff. Like everybody does that, even as friends and cousins. Who doesn't want to match profiles? So there's really nothing weird about that. But making like a whole dedication just for your love of your life is just really weird. Anyways, so leave your relationship offline and not online. There's something about people putting their love online, which I think is kind of gross. Because that is just very TMI. Because that's just so TMI. There are a lot of stuff that happens when having a relationship. That being said, you'll always find yourself with tons of big problems, big deals. Especially if you don't set ground rules in a relationship. Like if your partner should have social media or not. So that would be like a conversation you would have with your partner, so that you know that they don't cheat on you. Also, just building a lot of trust is a big key thing in a relationship. Also, I just don't drag this right in, but I have seen just very weird stuff, especially on the internet. Like, for example, my school, we use Snapchat a lot, so I've seen sexual activities through Snapchat, and it just like really concerns me and disgusts me. This is what I mean by don't share your stuff online and not don't share your stuff online, but leave it offline, you know. That's kind of one of the things that I would bring up, is that because that really disgusts me that people would show that on Snapchat. That's the exact same thing as Instagram through my stories. Now, I'm not going to go on my podcast and start calling people left and right, but there's certain people who share their relationship way too much, and it kind of grosses me out to a point where it's like sick to my stomach. And so I really try to just not really think too much of it, because it really disgusses me out. But if you're more than comfortable to, go ahead and share your relationship online. Just, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that comes through this. Like there's a lot of like pros and cons with having this. Of course, I can't think of them immediately in my head, and now that's up to you. You don't need to listen to me. Like, I'm not here to tell you guys to listen to me, you know. This is just something that I just myself have. And I think there's something that always ruins like being online in a relationship, because social media is one of those scary places. Like I said, like, it's scary out there, and I'm not sure if you guys would want a reality of being on social media, but there's definitely going to be so much stuff that I could talk about. And I could pack in with less than 14 minutes, I bet. But I didn't really write that much stuff for this week's podcast. That's why I have been ranting on to make this podcast a bit longer for you guys to listen to my amazing episode. Anyways, back to the video. This is me editing because I think that there's just so much stuff that I can't cover over in one episode. That is just a lot of stuff. But just remember that there's always going to be a dark side into having a relationship. There's always going to be a truth to a relationship. There's always going to be a relationship that you're going to be going through. There's no labels to this, but this is something that I've labeled myself. So just keep that in mind when going into like a relationship yourself. But yeah, that's it. I think that's all I can cover in this episode. So thank you guys so much for listening to this week's podcast. I hope everyone drinks a lot of water. And I'll see you guys all next week on my Wednesday podcast as usual. For the next upcoming podcast, make sure to follow all my social medias, which will be linked in Linktree in the description down below. And I probably won't be doing a poll at the end of the Spotify video, but I'll be asking some of my fan base or my followers of what they want to see next, because you guys have been requesting a lot of it. As you guys know, I will be doing a podcast on Saturday as my bonus, and I'm gonna give you a little hint. It's gonna be the reality of 8th graders, or the reality of being in 8th grade. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's podcast. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you guys all next time. Before I say bye, little disclaimer, I have been busy this week with a lot of stuff in high school, so podcast is not my full-time job. It's a hobby I like doing. So if my uploading schedule is a bit wanky, like today, because I'm recording this at 7:06 p.m. and it's a Wednesday, which is weird because you're like, what? You're supposed to be uploading on Wednesday though. Yeah, that's why. High school is, but it like mixes up my schedule, so I do apologize if I upload a bit late. Because I know a lot of people are expecting this podcast to be out today, and I do apologize so much. But I can't keep a promise that it's gonna go back to normal, because I don't know what's going on, because my school's ending soon, high school's ending soon. So teachers are putting a lot of stuff into these last months. This kind of features to my reality of being a high schooler. So if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure to check it out right now. Anyways, that'll be all. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all next time. Goodbye!